Okay, just before we start, can you tell me please, how many of you work with teenagers? Oh, teenagers, yeah, that's good. Have you heard anything about gamification before? Who has been to Christian's talk 2 days ago? Chris. Obviously. Okay, thank you. Okay, it's just before we start, I would like to say that at the end I prepared a small prize for the winner. Okay, and if I ask you a question, please don't hesitate to answer it, and you will get my business card as an XP point because I don't have anything else just to give you right now. But in the end, we will count the person with the greatest, with the biggest number of my business point, of my business card is obviously the winner. Okay? So let's start. So today's topic is how to gamify your English class. And this way, just a few words about me. I'm an English teacher, and I have worked as as a teacher trainer. I run my own private language school in the suburbs of Moscow, and we organize conferences for English teachers in Russia. And 2 years ago, we started a new project, StudyCraft. So we create games to be used at English classes. Okay, so that's my picture, and I'm the one in the background. Yes, and this is my my eldest son. So we are killing monsters. Okay. Do you always, I believe that you are all very good teachers and you love your students and maybe all your classes are just perfect, but do you always enter a classroom with enthusiasm?
Yes.
Yes.
No, I'm lying.
Okay. But anyway, from time to time we have to deal with difficult groups. Yeah? And sometimes your students are too bored, so they're not interested in what you are talking, in what you are telling them. Sometimes you've got the opposite problem. Yes, well, if you work with teenagers, you might have problems with discipline from time to time, especially if we work with low secondary school teens. Do all your students always do their homework? No. And do you want them to do it? As teachers, but they think that it is not the most important part of learning, probably. So when we faced, in my school, when we faced all these problems, we started to think, so what can we do? How can we motivate our students? Because, well, the general opinion the students have about school, it is like this. No? So they don't like school. And when I talk to my eldest son, well, he's a bright student actually, but he doesn't like school, and because he thinks that it is too boring and it is too old-fashioned. He belongs to this millennial generation, Generation Y, yeah? And he's more interested in computer games and technology than reading just paper books and doing his homework. And so we decided, we started thinking, so what do they like? So they all like video games. So if they are so much involved in video games, if video games are so much engaging, so can we take some of techniques from video games and can we use them in our English, at our English lessons? A new trend, so there is a new trend in the world, it is gamification. So what is gamification? So not many people know what it is. At first, and you can't answer, you can't get any answer. Gamification, any ideas what is it about?
Making things into games. I don't know.
Making things into games, so that was a good try. Is there anything else?
Introducing techniques taken from computer games into our language lessons.
Well, so you listen to me very carefully. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, taking elements of a game and applying them to a non-game context.
In non-game context, a perfect definition. Okay.
Making learning a game.
making learning a game. Yeah, like right.
Using technology, for example, to connect students to
Oh,
cooperate.
that's a good idea, yes, but we decided to do it without technology. Well, you know, I teach in Russia, and, well, in our reality, well, we don't have all our classrooms well equipped, and we decided to do it without technology. So, but mainly, what is gamification? This is using game elements, game mechanics in non-game context. Yes, so this is one of the examples. Unfortunately, it is in Russian, but I can translate. So, how many mothers do we have here? So, is it difficult to make your child eat soup? Yes. Okay, let's try gamification. Level 1, if you eat this much. Level 1, if you eat that much, you are level 2. If you eat that much, you are at level 3. And on the bottom, you can see, do you want to quit? Or do you want to start again and have another portion? And now I'm going to show you another picture. If you were at Macmillan party 2 days ago, man, if you went to the toilet, maybe you saw this. Yeah, can you score a ball in the toilet? I didn't take this picture, my husband wanted it. But well, these are examples of gamification in real life. When you buy air miles, yes, you use one and the same air company and you buy air miles, so you accumulate them. So this is also an example of gamification. Okay, so what are the main things? What are the main elements? How does it work? So if you want to gamify something, you have to take into account three layers. So the first one, game elements, game mechanics, and game dynamics. And I will try to explain and I'll try to show how we apply all of them at our English lessons.
So these can be available somewhere, these slides, or
okay, I can send you.
is that possible? Yeah.
Can you mail? And you've got my.
Exactly. I've got your business card.
Just remind me to send you my
Thank you.
presentation. Okay, so let's start with game components or game elements, as they are called. So they are, when you play computer games, so you've got XP points, yes, and we've got here our XP points, so you can earn some. Usually you've got a leaderboard, so you can see how high what is your progress, and are you better than any other students, or are you lower? Usually you have got badges, yes. By the way, you are here, and it is the 4th day of the conference. Yes, many people have already left, so I think that each of you deserves a badge of the. Well, I was at IATEFL and I could stay to the very last day. Okay, you all deserve this badge. Okay, and in the.
What do you mean by badges? That you're labeled or?
Badge. This is
In
well.
this context, then.
Yeah, in this context. So you've got some bonus. Okay, I'll try to explain on
This
the
is usually a picture you see on the screen.
Yeah, yes, it is usually a picture, but when we play offline, so we use stickers, we give something to our students. Okay, you've never been out of class in this term, so you've got a badge. Or you have always done your homework, you've got a badge. Or maybe you achieved such a high level, so you've got like 200 points, and you've got a badge which allows you not to do your homework within the next 2 or 3 weeks. Believe me, they will never use this badge. Well, actually, my son, he had this badge, and he told me, okay, I'll try to use it when homework will be very, very difficult, and I won't have any time. But he never used it. Because when you do your homework, when you give correct answers, so you earn XP points. So the first legends that we used, it was a space trip. With my students, we were getting ready for a space trip, and to go there we needed a spaceship. Okay, and they were building a spaceship, and for each correct answer, they could get XP. Oh, I don't know how to show, but it was just cardboard. It was a piece of paper, and when you give a correct answer, you get this piece of paper with a spaceship picture on it, and at the end of the class, we count how many points you've got, and we show it on the leaderboard. So you see, these are avatars of my students, and these are their results. And if you don't have more than 200 points, so you are lance corporal, then you get another military rank and another military rank. This is how our leaderboard worked. And so, you know, obviously there were people who were at the top of the leaderboard. But those who were at the very bottom, they understood that they would never reach them. But their goal was to beat at least those who are 2 steps above of them. And so this added motivation. Okay. So all students started work. They didn't sleep at their lessons. They didn't miss their lessons. They didn't feel that they were losers. Because if a person is engaged in a game, he's got this meaning. You know, well, why should I do this exercise, grammar exercise? It is boring. But now I've got the meaning. I have to do this exercise because I want to get as many XP points as possible to be the winner in this game. They started asking for extra assignments. I wasn't at the class last week. I couldn't earn like 40 XP points, which I missed this opportunity. Could you please give me some extra work? I'll do these tasks at home, and you will give me some XP points. Okay, homework was done. Okay, and you know, sometimes in the classroom you ask your students, okay, now let's do exercise 2. Open your books, and they do. Okay, scratch here, scratch here. Okay, now I can open my book. But now each activity, they started doing each activity very quickly. Okay, if you do this quickly, you can earn XP points. If you don't do it, so you might lose. But they were cards. It all looked, so we worked like this for about 2 or 3 months. And we understood that points, badges, and leaderboards, this is not gamification. But many people think that this is gamification and that's it. But it works only for a short period of time. And students, they get tired of it very quickly. And they don't feel now that, well, it is interesting, it is exciting. Oh, it's like routine, yeah? You earn money or you earn XP points. Okay, so we had to employ the next layer. So what was the next layer? So game components, what is the next layer in the pyramid? Mechanics, yeah, very good. So game mechanics, so what we tried to use at our lessons. If it is a game, usually in a game you have freedom of choice. It's not the teacher who tells you what to do, but you decide what to do. You've got lots of competitions. You compete not only with people in your group, but you have to fight with monsters from outside. Never this teacher is a monster. Okay. Sometimes there are well, you can have a chance, you can win, even if you don't know the correct answer. Okay, and there are lots of challenges. Okay, now I'll show what we try to do. I was thinking, how can I give this freedom of choice to my students? Yeah? So we all know, so we have to present the material. Then you have to do this exercise, that exercise. Okay, you have like initial practice, then you have to give them some more practice, and then you can start with oral activities and fluent activities. So activities should be controlled, they should be fluent, so things like this. This is just what I tried a couple of weeks ago. It is a vocabulary class. So I presented new words to my students, and then I draw this chart on the blackboard. You see, these are number 1, and I know that this is exercise 2, page 25 in the textbook. Square number 2, it is another exercise. For example, exercise 6, page 55. And each exercise has different level of difficulty. And I showed it to my students. If it is 1 star, if there is 1 asterisk, yeah? So it is very easy. 2, it is more difficult. 3, it is the most difficult one. And they have to decide which one they want to start with. And to add this element of competition, so I ask the person with the greatest number of XP points, so the first person, he chooses the square he wants to go. For example, well, I've got Veronica, and she says, okay, I go to square number 1. Then another person, he can choose. Either he goes to Veronica and competes with her, or either he chooses another square and he's waiting for another competitor, for another rival in his square. Then they do the exercise. I give them the answers. They check the answers, and the person who wins gets all the score. So you can plan your strategy. So you decide, okay, so this competitor is very strong. I don't want to compete with him. I will choose another student, and I'd rather go and do exercise with him. And then I can be a winner. Okay, and I had, you see, I've got number 6, number 7, number 8. These are chances. So these are unexpected activities. Mainly they are oral activities which needs teacher to control this activity. And we use different games. Okay, and again, a student can win in this game, maybe a few students can win in this game. So this is what we tried. Of course, we had to look at our lesson from absolutely different perspective. All these, exercises, boring exercises in books, they have nothing to do with games. And we saw that probably we can choose a game, a real game for each aspect of the lesson. So, lesson 1, vocabulary. So the first stage of the lesson, this is presentation. So which games can I use to present new vocabulary? So we started searching the internet. Then next one, I need games for oral practice. I need games for written practice. Actually, in the internet, you can find a lot, big number of different games. But the problem, when you type in ELT games and activities. But the problem with all these games, well, they're not real games. They are activities. So we should transfer activities into games. So each game has a goal, each game has a winner, and each game has rules. So if you just do the activity, find someone who, and you don't have an obvious goal, and your students don't know that, well, the first person who can find like 5 people who were at Macmillan party 2 days ago, and if he can do it in 3 minutes, then this is the person who is the winner. And if you just walk around and you talk to people, so that's not interesting. So it's not a game. So the purpose was to transform all these games in all these activities into games. Okay, skip it. And at some moment, we realized that we should learn. So if we use so much materials from outside, maybe we don't need a course book at all. Yesterday at Open Space, we had a very active discussion about the use of course books, classrooms. Okay, sometimes they do more harm than good. And teachers, they just stick to this textbook and they are afraid of putting it away and doing something creative, really creative. We started inventing our own stories. So do you remember the last layer of the dynamics? Dynamics, this is the level which...
Doesn't count.
But you were quite wise to read. Dynamics, these are emotions, and this is the story, narrative techniques which are used in games. When you play an interesting computer game, so the thing that really attracts you, this is the story of the game, probably. Yeah. At some moment, well, at first we saw that it was, well, it's so difficult to make up a story. Yeah? But then we realized that all stories, they are absolutely the same. Usually there is somebody, let's say, well, Harry Potter, he's an orphan, who has two friends, and they have Voldemort, yeah, the enemy, and they can win. They have to fight with him, and they can win with the help of a wand. Okay, the same story. Luke in Star Wars, he has also two crazy friends, yeah, and he has an enemy, Darth Vader, and they've got these swords, yeah. So, well, all the stories are absolutely the same. So it's not difficult just to invent your own story. And sometimes students can contribute to the story, yes? They can add some details to this story. So we made quite a few of them. Our first story was about space travel. Then we fought with vampires and we had to conquer Dracula. Then we had Harry Potter's story, and we ended up with the haunted house and ghost story. So this is our last one. And now it looks like this. So this is our lesson. Okay, students, I tell my students, okay, you are in a haunted house. You don't know why you are here. And your goal is to get out of this haunted house. As a teacher, I know that the vocabulary that I'm going to teach it is safety at home, and I've got some grammar to teach also. Okay, so my students, they choose, well, this is the first room, this is a corridor, this is another room. So they just walk along this house. You have to know, well, you're in a house, yes? You're not in a classroom. And they open a card, they read what is written on the card. For example, well, let's imagine, well, you are in this classroom. Okay, you are in the classroom, you are in a haunted house. So what can you see around? So you are here.
Ghosts.
Ghosts. Can you see lots of ghosts? Are you scared?
Of course.
Yes, you are. So, what do you want to do now? Where do you want to go?
Watch TV.
You want to watch TV? Okay, here. And we go and we turn on TV. So I turn over the card and say, so this is a broken TV. Okay. And it shows strange words to you. If you don't recognize what the word it is, so you will get an electric shock. Okay? Okay, and I show flashcards from the active vocabulary, and they do this exercise, and if they give correct answers, they get some XP points. If they don't give a correct answer, they can get a bad ghost card, and that means that in the end of the game, they have a chance to turn into a ghost. Stop being a human and they turn into a ghost. Okay, so at first my student, well, and they also, well, they have a possibility to go to and read the material from the first aid kit. So if they make a mistake, they can go back and learn something before they go further. At first they start doing exercises, they fail and fail and fail, and at some moment somebody says, oh, let's go and study these words first. But it's not me, it's not the teacher who tells them, wow, you have to study these words. But they come to this idea themselves, and it works much better. So we could cover up to 18 new lexical new words during one lesson, because their motivation is very high. How I present grammar, for example, I say that ghosts are, well, they attack you. and I throw balloons into them, and they have to kill these ghosts. And when they kill them, so inside these balloons, there are pieces of information, pieces of grammar information. They can make up a rule themselves and then do some exercises. And then, oh, for example, if they are in a toilet, you see this tab at the top. Okay, there was an exercise. It was like a usual gap filling exercise. You know, you give them they have to fill in the gaps with the verbs in proper form. Okay, I gave them some time to fill in these gaps, and then I told them, okay, you are in a bathroom, and you are going to get drowned. You'll get drowned if you don't give all the if you don't answer all the questions correctly. So if you give if you make a mistake, the water levels goes up. With each mistake, it goes higher, higher, and higher. Okay, that works perfectly. One mistake usually in a round. Okay. Of course, it takes lots of energy from a teacher to create these games. So these are my teachers from my school. But, well, I can say that these are, well, I believe that these are the best English teachers in the world. Okay, they are over level 2000, yeah. And I think that in the future, everybody will play games, and we won't have any course books. So this is my dream, to have, you know, so, okay, thank you. So you have to complete with your students level A2. So that means that you have to play 9 games: Haunted House, Vampires, Starships. So, and if you play all these games, that means that your level of English is up to A2. And maybe in the future we won't have a profession of a teacher. What's your job? I'm not a teacher. I am an English teacher, game designer. Well, maybe it'll be like this. And so the usual teacher's kit will look like this, so you will need some attributes from a game. So at each lesson I use a bomb, you know, this timer which can explode at any time. I use sand, clock, and all other things. And these are one of my XP points. You see old Victorian money. Okay. Okay, and always remember to have fun. We tried our games with different teachers and in different groups. If a teacher doesn't believe in the game, if a teacher can't immerse himself within the game, if he can't see ghosts around him, if he is not afraid of a vampire who is going to bite him, it won't work, and your children, they won't believe you. So you have to enjoy the process yourself. Okay, actually, now it's time for questions. The last person who asks the questions, the question will get 3 cards.
Sorry, do you do student-generated games as well, or just teacher-generated?
Just teachers.
And do you have any non-competitive games? I mean, the one with the house is a little bit non-competitive. Do you try to think about maybe competition and if it's always positive?
So, no, well, I think they're not competitive. Why not? Why? Within the game, what?
No, but something like with the points and the leaderboards, sometimes that could have maybe a negative effect as well.
Negative effect. But usually they work as a team. In the end, they have to escape from some danger as a team altogether. Okay. Anyway. Okay.
Okay, I understood that your dream is to make courses like this.
Yeah,
courses.
yeah.
But now in reality, how much time do you devote to the lessons like this? The whole course.
Okay, you know, well, it takes quite a lot of time just to print the game, yes, to find an artist, and just to think about all game techniques and all game mechanics that we need to involve. But then at some moment you just, if you don't want to make everything so beautiful, if you don't want cards, if you can, maybe you can use only a blackboard and maybe paper. And if you have this skill of developing games, it won't take you any time. And you know, now I can't just give an ordinary lesson. I come into the classroom, and even if I didn't have time at home to prepare, but I start thinking, how can I convert this or that activity into a game? Sometimes it doesn't work very well, but still I have a try. Okay.
With this haunted house game you showed us, how long would you use that in class? Like, would you use it over several lessons? Or?
Yeah, it is for 6 lessons. It's like unit, 1 unit from the book. Yes, but we are counting. It's 3 points. Yeah.
So do you play a game like every lesson?
Yes, we do.
Did you ever think about finding somebody who can commercialize these games? And
She does. I hope we will find somebody. Now we work a lot on this in Russia, and we try to make a team and make a big team who can help, because we need lots of people who can contribute to game creation, and maybe yes, we'll be interested in a person who could invest.
it must be a big market.
So the first person will get 3 XP points, and then I'll give a prize.
I myself own a school back in my country as well, and I've been working as a teacher for 22 years. And our course is based on the course study books. But having a course with these crafts and only these games, how serious do the parents in your country take your school as a good one of, you know, bringing the children to you to the?
Okay, I understand. Yeah, this is the same concern that some of my teachers have. But you see, parents, they are so happy that their children now like learning English. They do all their homework and they go to their classes happily. So
But still, do they get the certificate by the ending of the course? Still.
yeah, they do. Well, actually, at the end, we write just an ordinary final test, and what is more, so we ask all our students to take international exams. So we work with CIT and GILT exams, and so they
Still,
take.
you're based on the CFR, right? When you're planning those games and activities.
Yes, I choose the vocabulary and I choose grammar.
Because in the country where I live, we wouldn't be taken as seriously as back.
But
your country,
you
for
know,
example.
when I was at Christian's talk, I thought that it would be a good idea to gamify all exam preparation classes as well. Maybe not with the story, but at least with game elements and game mechanics to make it.
Because I think that what you're changing, I'm sorry, but just to add, you're changing the mechanics, not the content. That's it. Of course, it's new, so then you have to express it, but you're not being all serious. It's just a matter of marketing, probably.
Thank you.
Right? But
Yeah.
but this was
Do you use any of these principles for planning your out-of-class activities? I mean, maybe for loyalty program for your students, or do you think that?
We should think about it. Thank you. Okay, thank you. And we've got this site studycraft.org. We are going to fill it in with any necessary materials, and we are planning trainings for teachers. So in the future. So come and visit us. So can you count who is the winner? Who has got more? Who has got 5 business cards?
11 more.
4? The last is the last one you've got. So, okay, who has got 5? No? 4.
No, just 3.
You've got 4. Okay, and you've got the winner. So this is our game. Thank you. Wow.